We all want to build relationships that reflects Christ's love. But what does that actually look like? In today's world, relationships are often seen transactional, focused more on what we can get rather than what we can give in a relationship. Divorce rates are high, and many relationships are centered around self interest. But Christ calls us to love in a different way, one that mirrors his unconditional, selfless love. Christ centered love goes deeper, rooting us in something unbreakable. And today I want us to explore what healthy Christ like love is and how it differs from worldly love we often see. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Colleena Carlisle. I create videos to empower women by sharing tools, insights, and biblical guidance to help women confidently say no to toxicity and yes to a Christ-centered life. And if you're a Christian looking to grow in faith or strengthen your relationship with God, overcome trauma, overcome codependency, and unhealthy relationships, I encourage you to please subscribe, turn on your bell notifications to stay connected as we journey together towards the life that God has for you. And for all those who are returning, welcome back. Hey guys, I'm grateful for you to be back and that you are committed to my channel, committed to my podcast. So let's dive into today's topic. Today's culture often promotes relationships based on convenience, right? And self-fulfillment, where love is conditional and easily abandoned if it doesn't meet our needs. We see this reflected in rising divorce rates, where people walk away when challenges arises rather than working through them. Relationships become focused on what can I get out of this rather than how can I serve and grow with this person. But Christ's love is different, completely different. He demonstrated sacrificial love, going so far as to lay down his own life for us, even when we were undeserving. And 1 John chapter 3, verse 16, we read, "This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us." This kind of love isn't rooted in self-interest or conditions. It's rooted in the desire to honor God by loving others as he loves us. Imagine if in our relationships, whether with family, friends, or our partners, we sought to give rather than to get, to serve rather than to be served. That's the difference Christ and what Christ's love looks like makes. So ask yourself, in my relationships, am I more focused on what I can give or on what I can get? What would change if I love others more like Christ, sacrificially and selflessly, right? Not self-neglecting, right? And we talked about that in earlier videos, but in a sense of sacrifice for other people when it's okay, right? When it's not neglecting ourselves. So God love is unconditional. And that is one of the greatest differences between God's love and humans' love. It's unconditional. And in Romans 5, chapter 5, verse 8, it tells us, "But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." This means that God doesn't love us because we're perfect or because we've earned it. He loves us because of who he is. Our love, on the other hand, often has strings attached. We might say, if you hurt me, I'm done. If you do this, I'm done. If you don't meet my needs, I'll leave. We love as long as it's convenient. But God calls us to love without conditions. In applying unconditional love in our relationships, it means choosing to love even when it's challenging, uncomfortable, or when it's undeserved. For example, we might forgive a friend who has wronged us rather than holding a grudge, or we might choose to support a family member through a difficult time, even if it requires sacrifice. Unconditional love is not about allowing mistreatment and abuse. It's about choosing to love without conditions, trusting that God will guide and protect us. Christ's love challenges us to look beyond our desires and think of what's best for others. But what does it mean in contrast with how the world often portrays love? Worldly love often places a heavy emphasis on neediness, control, or fear. True love isn't about constantly needing validation or fearing loss. Instead, it's grounded in peace, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to God. If you find that love feels like pressure or anxiety or control, it may be an indicator of a worldly attachment rather than a Christ-centered connection. Now imagine if you're in a relationship where you feel the need to constantly check in with your partner to feel secure. In Christ-like love, there's no need for constant reassurance because the foundation is built on trust and respect. There is a solid foundation at the core of the relationship, and both people are equally committed and present. God is present. His foundation is rooted there. His trust, his promises, he's not leaving. His love is unconditional. Healthy love gives each person freedom to grow individually while nurturing the relationship together. Even in healthy relationships, when fear or anxiety creeps in, it's a good thing where we try to adopt this practice when when the relationship feels rocky, that we focus on God's word and the characteristics of what true love is, right? And true love in the Bible is in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And by reading this verse, it can help us replace that insecurity that might often come up in relationships with faith. Love should bring freedom, not bondage and not pain. And take a moment now to reflect. In your relationships, is there a healthy balance of giving and taking? Is there peace and security within your relationships? Or is it anxiety, fear, confusion, and abuse? Do you feel securely attached and loved unconditionally? Is the love one-sided, unrequited? Or do both people contribute equally? Ask yourself these questions. Assess your relationships, because we want to have relationships that resemble Christ-like love, that nurture us, and we're able to nurture those around us. Now that we see what Christ's love looks like and how it's in contradiction of what worldly love is, how do we practically pursue this kind of love, the Christ-like love, and invite it into our lives? Well, to truly experience Christ-like love, we must first seek God's will in our relationships rather than focusing on what we want. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5-6 reminds us that trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. This means that instead of relying on our feelings or preferences, we seek God's guidance, praying for wisdom and how we care for the other person and discerning his direction. When we make God the foundation of our relationships, we develop a healthier love that isn't based on our changing emotions, but on his unchanging nature. Now, let me repeat that. When we make God the foundation of our relationships, we develop a healthier love that isn't based on our changing emotions, but on his unchanging nature. This might look like in an intimate relationship, praying regularly with your partner, or committing to spending time studying God's words together, allowing his teachings to shape your relationship, right? He is the core, the third wheel of that, the third piece of the relationship. The third, and we talk about a relationship should be like a braid, right? Three cords, a braid, the two people, and then God in the middle. That's how you fully get a strong braid. And that's how our relationships should look. So let's say you're feeling uncertain about a new relationship or a next step in an existing one. Instead of making decisions based on impulse or pressure, spend time in prayer, asking God to reveal his will. Ask for his guidance on whether this relationship aligns with his purpose for you. Seeking God's will in our relationships seeking God's will in our relationship often means surrendering our own agenda and trusting that he has a greater plan in mind. Maybe we want to marry this person, right? But that is not God's plan for us. Maybe we want this friendship, but again, it's not God's will for our lives. Ultimately, wants us to have relationships that reflect his love and not the world's. And as you take the journey to break free from codependency, it's important for you to understand and to distinguish between God's love and worldly love, how to give it and what it looks like to receive it. Okay. The best description of Christ-like love is in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, 4-7. One of my favorite verses, which says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it's not self-seeking, it's not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and it always perseveres. Now, that scripture, it offers the blueprint for loving others as Christ loved us, guiding us to be patient, kind, and resilient in our relationships. And it also shows us how others should be loving us, right? It's a perfect example of what healthy love looks like. So let's take a closer look and break down 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4-7. Christ-like love, as described in this scripture, calls us to a higher standard, both in how we love others and what we accept as love from others. It starts with patience, right? Giving others the freedom to grow and learn without irritation. Patient might mean fully listening without interrupting or giving someone the time they need to process their emotions. And when others love us with patience, they don't rush or expect us to, instant change, but allow us space to grow at our own pace, trusting that God is at work in us. Kindness is another core aspect of Christ-like love. And this shows up in our gentle words and actions, like encouraging those we love or we care about, or lending a hand without being asked. When someone loves us with kindness, they go out of their way to make us feel valued, offering thoughtful gestures that show they genuinely care, right? Christ-like love doesn't envy or resent others' success. Instead, it celebrates it. If someone who we love achieves something meaningful, we should be genuinely happy for them. Likewise, when others love us without envy, they celebrate our accomplishments with us, taking joy in our growth rather than feeling threatened or resentful or trying to sabotage our success. Humility is also key in Christ-like love. This love isn't boastful or proud, right? But values quiet acts of service without seeking recognition. Key, without seeking recognition, cheerfully doing something. When we love with humility, we serve others joyfully without expecting praise, without expecting them to shout from the mountaintops, hey, this is what Colleena did for me. Hey, this is what Jaden did for me. No, right? We just do it because we want to do it. We're cheerfully giving. We're cheerfully doing something for the people in our lives. And in return, when someone loves us humbly, they don't dominate the conversation or focus only on themselves. They listen attentively and seek ways to also lift us up. Now, respect is foundational. And Christ-like love does not dishonor others, but honors their dignity and boundaries. Respect might look like choosing kind words, even in conflict. It may mean walking away to preserve the relationship in conflict, right? Like maybe let's walk away before this gets a little bit too crazy, right? Before we say something we don't want to say, let's walk away. Okay. When others respect us, they honor our boundaries and speak to us kindly, right? Making us feel safe and valued, even when we don't agree, right? Even in disagreement, we're able to communicate from a place of love, right? Even if it's coming from directness, or even if we're being direct and whatever, sometimes it's not the best tone of voice. But you don't go to a point where you're so disrespectful when now you're slandering someone, you're calling them out their name, and you're degrading them, or you're using things that they've told you and stories they've told you against you. And vice versa, you're doing it to them. No, that's not respect. When you love someone, you don't belittle them. You don't disrespect them. You honor them, right? You value them. A disagreement should not push you into this place where you're now attacking all that this person is, minimizing who this person is, belittling who this person is. No, if you're probably getting to that point, it begs the question, how do you really feel about me? If you can go from telling me you love me and then we have a disagreement to I'm a female dog or anything else, like, whoa, come on now. Or throwing my weaknesses in my face, come on now. It's not respect, okay? Christ-like love is not self-seeking. It prioritizes the other person's needs over personal gain. We show this by being willing to compromise and seek what's best for the other person. And when someone loves us selflessly, they put our well-being ahead of their convenience, showing us that our needs matter to them. They show us that our needs matter too, not just theirs, right? Now, but if they need space, let's give them space, and vice versa. If we need space, we always want to have those healthy boundaries where we can have separate parts of each other outside of the relationship, not overly consumed in each other and self-neglecting, but a healthy boundary, right? Where there's a healthy overlap of each other in our relationship. Love that is not easily angered reflects a calm and forgiving heart. Calm and forgiving heart. When we model this, we give grace instead of reacting with irritation, choosing patience over anger. And when others love us with this same calmness, they give us space to make mistakes, because we will, without holding them against us, right? Offering understanding and patience that makes us feel secure. You ever been in a relationship that you feel like you're walking on eggshells? Like if you make one mistake or you say the wrong thing or you do the wrong thing, it's like, this person, they're going to attack me, or maybe they're going to leave. They're not going to be in the relationship anymore. It's not healthy. That's not a reflection of Christ-like love, right? That moves me into my next point. Like, a Christ-like love keeps no record of wrongs. Instead, it forgives fully, choosing not to revisit past mistakes in times of tension and conflict. When others love us this way, they don't hold our past mistakes over us, but focus on moving forward together, helping us both heal and grow. You as a person should not be keeping records of wrong. Well, you did this on May 1973, and you did this on May 1677. I get it. Maybe you guys are having a conversation one day and you guys have to reference the past. That's different. But holding it over their head and saying, you're always going to be this person. This is what you did. This is who you are. This is what it allows no room for growth. And it creates defensiveness in other people, right? It's one thing if you guys are both in agreement that, hey, we're going to revisit this. This is something in the past that we need to talk about, right? Sometimes you do have to talk about things of the past, right? But we don't do it in a grudgingly way, right? In this putting down, hurtful way. And vice versa. We shouldn't have people over here keeping us stuck in the past of who we once was. Colleena, couple about 10 years ago, or whenever before I got saved, oh Lord. Right? But that's not who I am anymore, right? God has transformed me and he's still doing it. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. I'm not without sin, but he is working in me and I'm growing, and God is giving me that grace to do that. He gives me the grace I need to make mistakes and to learn from them. And that's how we want to be with other people, and we want people to be to us, giving us grace to grow and learn. Right? Now, there's a difference too. Now, we don't want to give so much grace that we're giving grace to people who take advantage of that grace and they abuse it and they never change, right? They tell us, oh yeah, I'm going to do different. I'm going to do different. And then they never change. Absolutely not. All right. Those people are just playing on your heartstrings. Okay. And that's when you start to pray about those relationships, God will reveal those to you too. Right? There's people who will give you a sob story and tell you how they're going to change and how they're going to be different, and then they don't. Right? But the people in your life that they make a mistake, they hurt you or they do something, and then they say, I'm genuinely sorry. And you genuinely, after that sorry, you see them putting in the work and taking the actions to change and be different and to love you correctly in the way that you need to be loved. That's something different, right? So ask yourself, are those people, the people in your life, those relationships, are they trying to change? Are they trying to treat you better? Are you doing the same thing? right? Love that rejoices with the truth values honesty and openness. In our relationships, that means we celebrate transparency, truthfulness, vulnerability. When others love us with honesty, they communicate openly, they communicate honestly, right? And they're encouraging us to be our authentic selves, not trying to change us into who we're not supposed to be, right? Our authentic selves, and creating a foundation of trust, right? And I like to point out things, because then that means like, oh, if somebody tells me something, they're trying to change me. Sometimes we can have people who give us constructive criticism, right? And it's okay to take that and process it and pray about it. I always say this: if someone gives you constructive criticism, pray about it. Go to the word with it, go to God about it, right? And I say this because sometimes there can be constructive criticism that is needed for us to grow, right? There's things that, parents or your friends or people who are close to you might say to you to help you grow, right? That can help you grow, that can help you be better. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you want that. You love that. They care about you. They want you to be successful. But then there's their other type of criticism. And this criticism is just demeaning. It's hurtful, and it's just a deflection of the other person and their problems and their issues, right? And they're just trying to put you down because maybe they're jealous, or maybe they're hurt, or maybe they don't like themselves. They don't love themselves, so they hurt you. Maybe your light is too bright for their darkness. I don't know. And those are the relationships I appreciate what you said, right? Or, oh, great, I'm glad this is what you're communicating, but I'm gonna go and I'm gonna believe what my father said about me, what God said about me. Or the people that I know who love me and close to me, who are really rocking with me, are saying about me. Okay. Always pray where your criticism is coming from, where that advice and things is coming from. Even from me, you're watching my YouTube video, pray, right? Pray about me. What is Colleena? Is it in alignment with the Bible? Is it in alignment with God says, right? I'm human too. Ask God. Okay. Go to God about everything you hear from people and what they're saying to you and what they're telling you to do, because you don't want to be out here doing something that somebody told you to do, and then they got you doing the wrong thing that's not in alignment with God or alignment with the purpose that God has for you. Okay. Now, finally, Christ-like love always protects, trusts, hopes, and perseveres. This resilience means standing by each other, offering hope, and trusting in God's work within the relationship. When others love us with resilience, they remain committed through challenges, providing encouragement and hope even in hard times, right? They're not in and out. They're not leaving 1 minute, leaving the next minute. When things get hard, they're gone, they're leaving, they're this, they're back, that back and forth, push and pull type relationship. That is so unhealthy. And it's so it's so toxic. I've been there. It's toxic. When a person you make them upset, and so they leave, and then they come back, they give you silent treatment, they do this and they do that. And it's a thing of manipulation and control that they're doing to you, to hurt you, to harm you, to keep you dependent on them. Fall for that. Right? True Christ-like love, those people riding with you. They are with you. They're going to be resilient and persevere with you through challenges and hard times. Now, if anybody ever becomes abusive, including yourself or them, it's probably time to walk away, right? What we're not going to do is stay in abusive and toxic relationships that harm us. That's what we're not going to do. No relationship is perfect. Relationships come with troubles. They come with challenges. And sometimes we got to stick and ride with them, right? Stick and ride with them as long as it's not crossing that boundary line that God has in place, right? God has boundaries himself that he's placed around relationships for us, okay? And in these ways, Christ-like love calls us to love deeply and authentically, and it shows us what to look for in others who love us as well. So I want you to think about your relationship dynamics. Do they reflect God's definition of love in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, 4-7? Are you uplifted, or do you feel weighed down by your relationships? Healthy love should feel like a safe place to grow, where both people encourage each other's spiritual journey. And if a relationship is full of tension, guilt, or cycles of intense conflict, it may be worth seeking God's guidance to evaluate whether or not this relationship aligns with his will. And I challenge you to try to start setting aside time each week to pray over your relationships, right? As we invite God into each relationship, we start to see our connections strengthened, become more peaceful and aligned with his will. And we also see that unhealthy, draining, and toxic relationships start to die off and move further and further and further away from us. So I encourage you to pursue love that builds you up rather than drains you, to try to pursue love that reflects God's selfless character and love that respects and encourages your growth. Commit to pursuing love that builds up, love that just reflects Christ's humility and his patience, and love that honors God in every relationship. And remember that Christ like love, like everything else that I'm teaching and that we're learning, is a journey. It's a journey. And as we align our hearts with his, our relationships will start to naturally reflect his goodness, whether it's with family or friends or colleagues or others. Christ-like love is about bringing peace, respect, and encouragement into our connections. So I encourage you to take the time this week to reflect on how you can live out this love, this Christ-like love, in every single relationship in your life. All right. Thank you for watching or listening. I always say that because again, I put the video and the podcast together, upload them together. And so again, may you grow in the strength and the beauty of Christ-centered love as God guides you to love just like him. And if you've received value from this video, from the podcast, please like and share it. If you have not already, please do that. And then also please subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so you can get alerted about the next video. All right. Remember, God loves you. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.